Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be solving the May-June 2018 paper 2, variant 2. As you guys know, I'm focusing more on paper 2 these days so that the students who are preparing for the July-August mini-series, that's what they're calling it, can benefit from this. And then once they're done, then I'll start solving paper 1 also, inshallah. Okay, so let's get straight to it. This is yeah, this was the first paper after the syllabus changed. So as you know, there was a topic, there was a concept in transformation which got removed. In fact, there were two concepts, share and stretch, and now there's no choice in the exam. Now you have to attempt all the questions anyway. So let's get straight to it. We have question number 1, which is everyday math. Again, very important. If you guys saw the last video, I told you guys how important this topic is. This comes in paper 2 every time, nearly every time. In the last 10 years at least, this has come every time. So it says each week Leah works 5 days and is paid a total of $682. All right, each day she works from 8:45 until 12:15, and then from 13:15 until 17:30. Calculate Leah's hourly rate of pay. Okay, so before I can calculate her hourly rate of pay, I need to first find out what is the total number, or what are the total number of hours that she's working for. So she's working in two shifts. So first I need to subtract these two. I need to do 12:15 minus 8:45. All right, now this is something that you guys can do in your calculator. I have made a video on this. I'll try, if I don't forget, I'll try and attach the link of this in the description. If I don't, you guys can search it on my YouTube channel, you'll find it. So I'm going to do this in my calculator, okay, to save time. To save time. So 12 hours and 15 minutes minus 08:45. So this gives me 3.5 hours. All right, 3 hours 30 minutes, which is basically 3.5 hours. So I'm going to keep this here, and then I'm going to do 17:30, and then from it I'm going to subtract 13:15. Okay, also, by the way, I have covered the entire topic of time. I have a separate, I think I have 2 videos on it. No, I think I just have 1 video on it. Yeah, so if you guys wish to revise that, you know, for paper 1, anyone who's preparing for paper 1 and wants to revise that, you guys should, I mean, you guys can always go check it out. So if I do this turns out to be 4 hours and 15 minutes, which basically turns into 4.25 hours. Okay, so that means the total number of hours that she's working for turns per day, okay, turns out to be 3.5 plus 4.25. So let's do that, plus 3.5. So you have 7.75 hours, right? And this is per day, okay? She's working for 5 days in a week, so I'll just times this by 5 so that I have the number of hours she's working for in a week. So that gives me, so that gives me 38.75. So 38.75 is the number of hours that she's working for, and she is getting paid a total of 682. So what I'll do is I'll just take the total income, which is 682, and divide it by 38.75. So here's what I'm doing. So in order to calculate her hourly rate of pay, you can set up a proportion if you like. All right, 1 for hours and 1 for dollars. So for 38.75, she is making 682. So for 1 hour, it's X. So all I got to do is, in short, take 682 and divide it by 38.75. So that turns out to be 17.6, which is the correct answer. Okay. Then we have part B, which says Carlos buys a new bicycle. After 1 year, he sells it for $231. He makes a loss of 16% on the price he paid. Calculate the price paid for the bicycle. All right. So here's how we're going to do this question. So after he sold it for $231, by the way, I have covered this entire topic, everyday math, on Bright. You guys can go check it out. It's covered from scratch. You know, questions like these, I've done plenty of questions like these. So, you know, it'll be, you can revise this topic and also attempt quizzes to, you know, to understand how good your understanding of this topic is. Okay, so he basically makes a loss of 16% after he sold it for $231. So here's percentage, here's dollars. You guys know, if you've been following me, this is how I like to do percentage questions. So for $231, he's making a 16% loss. So that means in terms of percentage, 231 is basically equal to 84. Now original price, or the price he paid, is 100%, which is equal to X, and this is what you and I have to work out. So 231 times 100 divided by 84. So X turns out to be 275, which is our final answer. So yeah, that was part B. Let's do part C now. Part C says the exchange rate between dollars and euros is that $1 dollar is equals to 0.44 euros. Henry changes $850 to euros for his holiday. He spends 260 when he's on holiday. He changes the rest of the money back to dollars at the same exchange rate. Calculate how much money in dollars he receives. Give your answer correct to the nearest dollar. Okay, now let's read the question again. So we're given the exchange rate. Henry, who is apparently going on a holiday, is changing $850 to euros. Okay, so let's find out how many euros he gets. So here we have dollar and here we have euros. So for $1 you get 0.44. For 850, let's find out how many you get. So 850 times 0.44, so that gives me 374. So that means, oh, that's not how you make a euro symbol. So 374. Now from this 374 he spends $260. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 260. So this is what he has left when he's coming back to US presumably, and there's no point in bringing euros back, so ideally he should convert them back to dollars. So here's what he's going to the bank again, and the exchange rate remains the same. So that means for again $1 you are getting how many euros? You're getting 0.44, but this time he has 114 euros and he wishes to convert them into dollars. Okay, so cross multiply, so that'll basically lead us to 114 divided by 0.44, which turns out to be 259.09, which if you round it off will be 259. So make sure that you write 259.09, and then when you're giving your final answer, since that the requirement of the question is such that you have to round it off correct to the nearest dollar, so you round it off to 259. Okay, then we have part D. Now this was a unique interest question. Okay, I haven't seen a question like this in recent years. Okay, so, and it's not difficult because the problem that students faced in this question was that normally when you have a question that's of compound interest, the other interest is simple interest, but in this case one interest is compound interest, the other is, it's not simple. It's neither simple nor compound. It's sort of like compound, but the difference is that the percentage rate of interest is changing every year. Okay, so let's read the question. It says Anya has $3,000 to invest in a savings account for 3 years. She can choose from these two accounts. So account A, how account A works we have in front of us, and the way account B works we have that in front of us also. She chooses the account that will give her more money, of course. At the end of 3 years, decide which account she chooses and find the amount she will have in her account at the end of 3 years. Okay, so let's talk about account A first. In account A, here's what's going to happen. At the end of year 1, your amount will increase by 1.1% interest. Okay, at the end of year 2, your amount will increase by 1.2%. What amount? The amount after the interest that you earned in year 1 has already been added. Okay, and then in year 3 you're going to increase that amount in which the interest has been added, and you're going to increase that amount by 1.4%. Okay, so here's how this works. So we take $3,000, we first increase it by 1.1%, which is basically done by multiplying it by 101 upon 100. Then you increase it by 1.2%, which is done by multiplying it by 101.2 upon 100. And then you increase this by 1.4%, sorry, which can be done by multiplying it by 101.4. So this, bear in mind, will give you the total, and that's exactly what we want. The reason why I mentioned that was because sometimes the question is not asking you for the total, it's asking you for the interest earned, in which case what you do is you subtract the principal amount, which is 3,000, but that's not what the question is asking for in this case, so don't worry about that too much. We'll get away with it. Into 101.4 upon 100. Whoops, sorry. Yeah, so this turns out to be 3,112.367. So I'm gonna block it at 37. Okay, remember, usually the amount, usually money is given correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, let me see if there's any other restriction in the question. No, there isn't. Okay, now let's talk about account B. Account B is pretty straightforward. You have $3,000 which you're investing in an account which gives you 1.3% per year simple interest. So that means if your account, your money will increase by 1.3% every year, and you're doing this for 3 years. So let's see, 3,000 into 101 divided by 100. Sorry, 101.3 divided by 100 raised to the power of 3. So this turns out to be 3,118.53. Okay, now let's compare the two amounts and let's see which one's better. So in account A, she's getting 3,112. In account B, she's getting 3,118. And she's definitely going to choose account B because she wants more money. Who doesn't, actually? So yeah, that's the answer. So that was question number 1. How long did it take us? 10 minutes? Yeah, 9-10 minutes, I would say. So yeah, not bad. Okay, so here's question number 2. It says Jenny recorded the time in minutes of 40 movies. The table summarizes her results. All right. On the grid, draw a frequency polygon to represent this information. Okay, so what do we have to do? Frequency polygon. Now again, this is something that comes very rarely, but you know, it can always come. So that's why I usually avoid giving guest papers or guest questions. So you never know what's coming basically. Okay, so frequency polygon. The way to draw a frequency polygon is that you join the midpoints. Okay, midpoints of what? Midpoints of the intervals. Okay, so if I look at this interval right here, so you have 60 to 80. So the midpoint of this is going to be 70, and the frequency we can see is 2. And then I'll just write 70 here so you guys know exactly what I'm doing. And then the midpoint of this is 90. So the frequency of 90 is 7. So I'll make a mark at 7. And then the midpoint of this is 110. The way to calculate midpoint is that you sum them up and divide by 2, just in case you're wondering what exactly is going on. 110, the corresponding value of 110 is 15, so 110, 15 is right over here. And then we have 130, the corresponding value of which is 11, so 130, comma 11. And then you have 150, the corresponding value of which is 5. So we'll lock it at 5, 150, comma 5. Okay, let me just double check. 155. 130, 11, and 110, 15. Yep, so far so good. 97, yep, 72. Okay, so since it's a polygon is made out of straight lines, so make sure that you also make this out of straight lines. So there you go. And whether you join it with the endpoints or not, that's up to you. Okay, you're only going to be marked for these points. Okay, so there you have it. Okay, so now we have part B, which says Jenny asked 60 people how many movies they had watched. They had each watched in the last month. The table summarizes her results. The mean number of movies is 2.3. Find the value of P and the value of Q. Okay, so we're given the mean and we know the total. So the fact that we know the total means that we can make an equation instantly, and that is P plus 14 plus 15 plus 7 plus Q plus 5 plus 2 is equals to 60. So let's work this out. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the values, sum them up, and subtract them from 60. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. 14 plus 15 plus 7 plus 5 plus 2. Alright, and then I'm going to subtract this answer from 60. So I get one equation, which is that P plus Q is equals to 17. Alright, let's put this on the side for now. And the other equation that I can make is using the mean. And mean of data like this can be worked out by using the formula sigma or summation fx divided by summation f. So basically, in simple terms, I need to multiply these values. Okay, so 0 times p is 0, 1 times 14 is 14, 30, 21, 4q, 25, 12. I'm going to sum them up. Okay, so let me just copy them. In fact, let me just drag them here. Alright, put a plus sign in between. Yep, and then divide this by 60. And this is equal to the mean, which according to the question, not according to me, is equals to 2.3. So you have 0 plus 14 plus 30 plus 21 plus 25 plus 12. So that's 102. So you have 4q plus 102 over 60 is equals to 2.3. So I'm going to do 2.3 times 60. And then from it, I'm going to subtract 102. So here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at 4q equals to 36, which means that q is equals to 9. Now that q is equals to 9, I can very conveniently work out p. So let's rewrite this here. P plus q was 17, so that means p plus 9 is 17, which basically means that p is equals to 17 minus 9. I don't need a calculator for that, but yeah, it's 8. Okay, so p is, yeah, so q is 9 and p is 8. Okay. So yeah, and then we have part C, which is of, by the way, I've covered everyday math on Bright also. Okay, so you guys can go check it out. Mean, median, mode, of group data, of ungrouped data, pie chart, histogram, bar chart, everything, all of that. I've covered that. Okay, so go check it out. Okay, so here's part C, which says Jenny also asked which type of movie each of the 60 people preferred. The table summarizes her result. Okay, complete the pie chart to represent the results. Okay, so action part has already been done for us. So if I want to figure out the angle that comedy is going to take, so here's what I'm going to do. 15 divided by the total, which I think was 60. Yeah, 60. I'm going to multiply it by 360, so that's going to be 90 degrees. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same for drama. 9 upon 60 times 360, so that's going to be, I can't do that mentally, 90 divided by 60 into 360, so that's equal to 54. Let's do the same for 12 divided by 60 into 360, so that's going to be equal to 72 degrees. Okay, so for 90 degrees, of course I can't digitally draw this with a lot of accuracy, but I can tell you that this is what 90 degrees is going to look like, and this is what 54 and 72 will look like respectively. When you're done with this, make sure that you label this, that this is for comedy, this is for drama, and this is for horror. Okay, now remember, you're supposed to draw an accurate pie chart. Okay, you're not supposed to do what I've just done. One of these 60 people is chosen at random. Find the probability that this person preferred drama or horror movies. Okay, so or is the keyword, which means I'm going to add their values. So the number of people who like drama is 9. The number of people who like horror is 12. So that means 9 plus 12 over 60, which turns out to be 21 over 60. And then you can always simplify this if you want. Although even if you don't, you'll still get away with it. 7 over 20 is your final answer. Okay, yeah, so far so good. Then we have 2 of the 60 people are chosen at random. Calculate the probability that they both preferred comedy movies. Now sadly I don't have a lot of videos on probability, but I can do tell you that when you have the word both or the word and, what you do is you multiply. Okay, so the number of people who like comedy is 15. So 15 over 20 times, sorry, not 15 over 20, 15 over 60 will be the probability when you're selecting a person for the first time who likes comedy, and then for the second time it's going to be 14 over 59. Why? Because the only way that you can select 2 people is when you do it without replacement. Okay, which is why 15 decreases by 1 and 60 also decreases by 1. So 15 divided by 60 into 14 divided by 59, so what you get is 7 over 118. So over here it says 210 divided by 34540, which again reduces to 7 over 118. So no worries there. Okay, then we have part A. Pretty simple. Solve. So 3x plus 30 is equals to 12 minus 7x. Let's get all the x's on one side. So 10x and all the numbers on the other. 12 minus 30 is equals to minus 18. So x is equals to minus 18 divided by 10, which is equal to minus 1.8 or minus 9.5. Alright, whatever you wish to write it as. Alright, what do you have next? Simultaneous equations. So again, if you have a calculator which can solve simultaneous equations, you're very lucky, and I would strongly encourage you guys to use your calculator. Okay, so we have 2 equations. X and y are the 2 unknowns that we have to find. So let's see. So if you decide to use elimination, which is something that I will strongly recommend, so what you're going to do is you're going to multiply this by 3. So this turns out to be 4x minus 3y is equals to 28, and then you have 3 times 6, which is 18x, plus 3y is equals to 9 times 3, which is 27. Okay, so let's sum them up, see what you get. You get 28 plus 27, which is 55, and then this gets cancelled out, which was the objective. 4x plus 18x will turn out to be 22x. So x is equals to, well, I don't need a calculator for that, 55 divided by 22, right? So there you have it. If you simplify this using the table of x, so you'll get 11 5s are 55, 11 2s are 22, so you get 5 upon 2. Once you have the value of x, it's pretty simple to find the value of y. Let's use the simpler of the 2 equations. So I'm going to go with the second one, which is 6x plus y is equals to 9. So 6 times 5 upon 2 is equals, plus y equals to 9. So let's make y the subject. 2 1s are, 2 3s are. So 3 times 5 is 15, plus y is equals to 9. Y is equals to 9 minus 15, which turns out to be minus 6. So there you go. Let me see if that's correct. Yep, that's correct. Okay. Yeah, so part C, almost missed part C. So in part C, we have to simplify. So in the numerator, you have sort of like a quadratic expression. In the denominator, you have a solid quadratic expression. Okay, so the max that I can do in the numerator is that I can factor out v. Okay, so let's do that. So v into v minus 8. Now as far as the denominator goes, it's best that I simplify it, factorize it, factorize. So what I'm doing right here is I'm factorizing it on the side. So I'm looking for factors of minus 24 times 2, which is 48. Right, it's minus 48 in fact. I'm looking for factors of minus 48 that when I sum them up give me minus 13. So let's see, 1 times 48, 2 times 24, not gonna work. 3 times 16, that will work. So if I manipulate 3 and 16 somehow, I can get minus 13. Okay, so here's what I can do. I can do 3 and minus 13. No, sorry, 3 and minus 16. Yeah, that's exactly. I was wondering something's wrong. Yeah, so 3 times minus 16 can be manipulated to somehow get minus 13. So you have 2v square plus 3v minus 16v minus 24. In the first case, in the first pair, in fact, I can factor out v, which gives me 2v plus 3. In the second, I should factor out minus 8, which will again give me 2v plus 3. Now, whenever you factor out something with a negative sign, the sign inside the bracket changes completely. So you have v minus 8 times 2v plus 3. And then the numerator was already factorized, so in the denominator we now have v minus 8 times 2v plus 3. What happens next is that v minus 8 and v minus 8 get cancelled out, and you're left with v over 2v plus 3, which is your final answer. So I'm just going to drag this over here. There you, whoops, see what just happened. Yeah, okay. So now we're at question number 4. I'm going to solve question number 5, then the next part I'll upload tomorrow, inshallah. Okay, so here's question number 4, part A, which is x such that x is an integer from 1 till 18. So x is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to 18. A is x such that x is a prime number. So at this point, I would suggest that you write those prime numbers down. So 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. Remember, 1 is not a prime number, okay? A prime number needs to have 2 distinct factors for it to be prime. Okay, 11, 13, and 17. And then B is, well, okay, from 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18. Factors of 36. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, let's see. So it says complete the Venn diagram to illustrate this information. So as far as set A goes, 2, 3 are already taken. So we have 5, 7, 11, 13, and 17. All right. And then what is it that is neither in A nor in B? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I see 6. I see 7. I don't see 8. So 8. I see 9. I don't see 10. So 10. 11. I see 11. And then 12. I see 12. 13. I see 13. 14. I don't see 14 anywhere. 15. I don't think I see 15 anywhere either. And then you have 16, which again, it's nowhere to be seen. Then you have 17, 18. Okay, so let's just do a double check. I'm going to keep on highlighting as I count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yep, so far so good. Okay, then it says complete the description of the set B. So set B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, and 18. Okay, so x such that x is a factor of, so I already gave away the answer, but basically all these numbers are, if I just look at 1, 2, 3, and 4, so they can be factors of, okay, 24, right? And in fact 1, 2, 3, 4 till and 6, they're all factors of 24. Okay, now the fact that you have numbers till 18, I'll tell you how to work this out. Okay, so that means whatever these numbers are factors of, they must be multiples of 18, and your safest bet is to start off with 18 because it's the largest value. So obviously they can't all be factors of 18 because 12 is not a factor of 18, 4 is not a factor of 18. Okay, so how about we look at the next multiple of 18, which is 36. Now all these numbers are in fact factors of 36. Okay, so questions like these require trial and error. Okay, I can't just give you like a magic formula, like, okay, like use this and get your answer. That's not how it works. So which is why I always encourage trial and error. Then it says find the number of elements in A union B. So let's highlight them as we go along. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And that's the correct answer, 13. List the elements of A complement intersection B. So when it says A complement, it's basically asking the elements that are outside of A. So in that case, but an intersection B basically means outside of A and inside of B. So outside of A, we have, all these numbers. But when it says intersection B, so, we're just restricted to these numbers. So you have 1, 4, 9, 6, 12, 18. You don't necessarily have to give it in an ascending order. Okay, you can get away with it. Okay, let me just double check. 1, 4, 9, 6, 1, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18. Okay. In fact, I did not give it in ascending order, I just realized. Find the lowest common multiple of 140 and 770. Okay, LCM. That shouldn't be too hard. So we start off with, in fact, let me write 140 here and then 770 here. So let's start dividing it by 2. So 2 into 70, and since this is paper 2, 770 divided by 2 is 385. Let's see, they both look to me as multiples of 5. So I'm going to divide this by 5. 70 divided by 5 is 14. 385 divided by 5 is 77. Now they're both multiples of 7, which means that 7 into 2 and 7 into 11. And then 2 and 11 are prime numbers, got to divide them by 2 and 11, one by one. So the LCM turns out to be 2 into 5 into 7 into 2 into 11. Okay, so you have 1540 as your answer. Okay, now we're at part C, which says a rectangular field measures 450 by 306 meters. The whole field is divided into identical square plots with no land remaining. Okay, find the largest possible side length for the squares. Okay, so let's take a step back. Let's read the question again and see what it's asking for. So here's 450 by 306. Now I can take this field and make squares of 2 and 2. Okay, so basically I can add squares of 2, okay, vertically and horizontally, and I'm not going to be left with any land. Why? Because 450 is a multiple of 2 and so is 306. Okay, so by the time I'm done dividing them in boxes of 2, there will be nothing left, as I mentioned, because both of these numbers are in fact multiples of 2. But why stop at 2? Since the question says that you have to find the largest possible side length for the square. So 450 and 306, if I'm not wrong, in fact, yeah, they are also multiples of 3. So that means we can divide this land into squares of 3 also. So technically, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a number which is both a factor of 450 and 306, and it should also be what? It should also be the largest possible number. So technically, I'm looking for the highest common factor. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find the highest common factor, and the way to do that is, 306. I'm going to start dividing them. Now when you're finding out the highest common factor, there's absolutely no restriction. Okay, you can start off with the highest value that you want. So 4 plus 5 is 9, and 3 plus 0 plus 6 is also 9, which tells me that they're both multiples of 9. Okay, that's the way you can check whether a number is divisible by 9 or not. Okay, so 450 divided by 9 is 50, and 306 divided by 9 is 34. Okay, and now since they're both even, that means I can very conveniently divide them by 2. 34 divided by 2 is 70. At this point, however, there is no number which is a common factor of 25 and 17. So that means at this point I'll have to stop. And the largest possible length, which the question was in fancy terms asking you guys for the highest common factor, is 18. So that means this is your final answer. The squares that you're going to cut out in this field are going to be 18 by 18. This way you have a square with the largest possible length and there's no land left over. Okay, here's question number 5. It says you have a sector with center O, radius 11, AOB is 134. Arc length, pretty simple, 134 upon 360 multiplied by 2 into pi into 11. So let's work this out. 134 divided by 360 into 22 pi. So this turns out to be 25.7. Pretty simple. Shortest distance from O to the line AB. So shortest distance, remember, is the perpendicular distance. Now when I drop a perpendicular here, what I get is since this is an isosceles triangle, so what this perpendicular will do, now remember, because this is an isosceles triangle, what this perpendicular will do is that it will divide this angle into two, and that means now this angle is 67 degrees. Now what do I have to find? I have to find the shortest distance. That means I have to find this red line, so let's call this x. So I have to find the adjacent with the help of hypotenuse. So I can use cos 67 is equals to adjacent upon 11. So let's work this out. Cos 67 times 11. So you have 4.298, which you'll have to round off to 4.30. So there you go. That's your answer. Then we are at B part, mensuration. This was a relatively easy question of mensuration. You have a cone, of which you know the height, you know the volume, and you have to find the radius. In fact, you have to show, so the answer is in fact right in front of you. You have to show that it is in fact equal to 3.4. So the formula for calculating the volume of the cone is also given. It's 1/3 pi r square h. So I'm going to do volume. Well, since I already know the volume, I'm going to replace it with 115 is equals to 1/3 into pi into r square into 9.5. So let's work this out. I'm going to do 115 times 3 divided by 9.5. So here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at pi r square is equals to 690 over 19. Then I'm going to divide this by pi. And then I'm looking at r square is equals to 11.55 something. That means if I want the value of r, I'll take the square root of the answer, which gives me 3.39. Okay, I'll write 3.39, and then I'll show that this is in fact equal to 3.4, correct to one decimal place. So easy does it. Calculate the curved surface area of the cone. So calculating the curved surface area of a cone basically means pi r L. Let me see if the formula for that is given. Yeah, you're also given that formula. Okay, so pretty simple. So we know, well, we know r, okay, but this time I'm going to use the answer key. In fact, okay, wait, before we find out, yeah, hang in there. Before we find out the curved surface area, we need to find out the length. Okay, and the best way to do that, in fact, I think the only way to do that perhaps, is to use Pythagoras theorem. So radius is 3 point. Now at this point, I'm going to avoid using the rounded off value. In fact, like I said, I'll prefer using the value that I have in my calculator. Okay, and this is obviously 9.5 and this is L. So the equation that I'll form is going to look like this. L square is equals to 9.5 squared plus answer squared. Okay, so the answer, the last calculated answer is still here. Hope you guys can see it. So I'm going to square this plus 9.5 squared, square root of the answer. So now I'm looking at the slant height, which is 10.09, which will then ultimately become 10.1. So pi into r, which is 3.39, into length, which is 10.1. So let's see, into 3.39 into pi. So now I have the curved surface area, which is 1. Now you have a decent amount of acceptable, yeah, so it says here 108 or anything between 107.7 to 107.8. So what I'm looking at is 107.8. So there you go, that's your final answer, 107.8. So yeah, there you go, simple. Okay, then let's see. Okay, so I think this is, we have solved the paper halfway, so I think I'm gonna stop here. Okay, so that's all for this video. I'll solve the next part of this paper by tomorrow inshallah and upload it also. So yeah, that's all for this video. See you guys in the next one. Until then, take care. Bye bye.